We are on Chov Chesam and Beis. Hachin Ashutfin. Aloha Dalit. Hachin Ashutfin Shnafel Echad Mem. Oh, I have a count if you remind me to give it to my jacket. You know what? Why don't you just take it out of the right? I mean, the right outside pocket should be that one. Either that one or the other one on the other side. Is there a little pocket block there? Yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff in there. My keys, my phone, so try the other side. Same pocket, the other side. There you go. Okay.
I'll check it out.
Doubt it. Well, anything is possible. Does not look like it. No. But it's on Shabbos. Who knows? Shabbos supersedes. All right. All right. Anyway, enough of that. Says the Mishnah. Brothers who are partners. Shenafal echad me'em lumlu. So one of them fell into the king's service. Now it seems they used to make money on this, okay, being in the king's service. I'm not sure exactly how you used to make money on it, but it used to be advantageous. Nafal emta. So he must have been chosen because of the estates, because the people from the various different estates got chosen, and he was the estate has not yet been divided up. So whatever money is made is realized as a result of his becoming being present into service, goods divided up among the estate. Cholav and Yisrape. Now, what if he got sick, one of the brothers, and got healed? Bishlatz was got paid out of his own pocket. Doesn't come out of the estate. Some of the brothers were shushvinin during the lifetime of the father. Now, what this means is that while the father was alive, he sent presents to somebody's chasna. And we know that shushvinas are presents which must be reciprocated. In other words, if you give shushvinas to somebody, he's got to give you shushvinas back. It's quid pro quo, tit for tat. So therefore, when the shushvinas is returned by the person to whom the father gave shushvinas during his lifetime, when those presents are sent back, chazal emtza gets distributed among all members of the state. Shushvinas need reservation. Shushvinas is such a strong custom, it's collectible in a court of law. But shushvinas is only where this is where the chuppah is taking place. It's a gift given for the chuppah, and B, the person who says shushvinas goes to eat at the chasna. In other words, it's chuppah chasna and he attends. So then Shishvinas is the present given under those circumstances. However, if your friend sends you barrels of oil and barrels of wine as a wedding gift, not specifically Shishvinas, then it's not collectible in return. It's just giving for a present. So it has to be specifically in the manner of Shishvinas, which is given A, to a wedding at the time of the chuppah, B, where I attend the wedding. That's the shushvinas which is then collected and based. If it's not given at the time of the chuppah, nor does the individual giving the shushvinas attend the wedding, so that it's not collectible. It's not necessarily reciprocated in kind. Okay? Now, all of that is not relevant to our discussion here. Our discussion is purely about the brothers who were partners. Brothers who were partners, one of them fell to the service of the king. It should be now the Moshe and so they all change it based on the Tosefta. When it's because of the property, meaning the estate was the one which had to provide the individual for the service of the king. Now this sounds like here they're losing money on the deal. So then the estate pays whatever price is being collected by the king in his service when one of them was present in the service. If it's mikach atzmo, it says here always here, but it should be mikoch atzmo if it's on his own. I'm sorry, it says mikoch babais. First it says that I changed the oris to nechasim. It's not shaboy mikoch nechasim, no mikoch nechasim mikoch atzmo if it's being this individual is being taken to the service because of his high esteem and reputation personally. So then that's different. Then whatever loss is suffered by the individual, not by the estate. Now this is like the following case, which seems to be the reverse. Although I'm not sure exactly. It could be I'm right, could be I'm wrong about who's paying and who's receiving. Whether the people who are present service pay or receive is not clear in this Gemara. But we have this case here, though. Bar Nachman, Rav Nachman, son of Shmuel, son of Nachman, Nitpas the Bule. He was pressed into service for the city Bule. It's interesting. The Gilin Ephraim here goes a little bit maskil at the bottom. He starts speaking about Bule having to do with the Greek word polis, it's polity in English, and as language cosmopolitan comes from polity, and those are the people, the leaders of the city, and Buli is Puli, and that has to do with politics, of course. Politics comes to the Greek word poly or polity, and he goes into a little bit of discourse about this, and Moshe brings out Constantinople, which means the city of Constantine. Okay, so a little bit of Greek here, learning here tonight. So polis is the city or the municipal government, and he was grabbed by the polis to serve in the municipal government. So
How did Poland get into police?
it was right. I think it was conquered by Romans. The Poland. I don't know how far the Romans got. It's a good question whether Poland has anything to do with that. So it says, absolutely, Rabbi Ami case came from Rabbi Ami. Amar said, "In is benichse the Nachman shenit paslo." If if the property of Nachman there was sufficient, he owns sufficient amount that he should be a designated member of the Politburo here. So there's another similar term. So then it's his benefit or his loss, whatever the case may be, and everything is from him, right? It comes from his property. If rather it's not his own chashivas, but the chashivas of the state, then whatever the gain is, whatever the loss is, again, I'm not sure which it is. It's from the middle. In other words, it's from the common, the common property owned by the state in joint. Okay. We said if an individual got sick and then was healed, he gets healed from this contradicts our Mishnah, because in our Mishnah it says that the healing comes from the individual, but here it says that there's some brisa which says that each individual member of the estate gets paid for his health insurance, so to speak, by the estate. All right, fine. Tyrant Shingamil says, he modifies this. He says, actually, he's not that about it, so you say about Ksubas. Any wound which has a specific allotted amount of time and expense to heal it. So a woman who wants to get healed must be healed on the basis of her ksuba, because it's not considered to be mazonos which the husband is liable to give her, and there's no separate clause in the ksuba for giving medicine, so therefore it comes deducted from the sum total of her ksuba. Choose from her ksuba as a result of the medicines which she needs. However, she'en lo kitzba, the ironic thing is that medicine which is perhaps more, is likely, certainly more expensive, which is ongoing medicine. There is no course of treatment, right? It's just an ongoing thing. There's no kitzba. So then, in that case, Oh, it starts in the other way. Komaka sheyesh lo kitza, which has a specific allocated amount of misrapim miksubasa. She's healed on the basis of whatever she's going to get from ksuva. It's deducted from her ksuva. However, she'ein lo kitza, if it's the case where the medicine has no set amount, we don't know what the specific course of treatment will be. So then, misrapim minachasim. And it's like all other mizonos that her husband is required to provide his wife with ongoing mizonos, so too it's required to provide her with ongoing refuah. Okay, this is if the refuah has no specific set amount attached to it. In other words, we don't know how much she's going to need. So then it becomes like mizonos, where we have no idea how much food your wife is going to eat. And therefore, it's an ongoing responsibility, just like some mizonos is. But if it's a set course of treatment, and we're precisely what it's going to cost, so then the husband doesn't pay for it. Rather, it comes out of the ksuva. The husband does pay for it, but it comes out, it's deducted off for a ksuva, which you receive at the end of the marriage. We deduct for whatever before he did for her. Okay? Says the Gemara further, Kata, we have a case. The case is the Rishim Barva. That creeps to the Rishim Barva, the certain relative Rishim Barva. Have its chashashas at Aine. She had an eye ache. Asked Rabbi Yochanan. So she came to Rabbi Yochanan and asked him whether she can collect money from her husband. Amar Allah, so he said to her, Katitsu ayin asich, is your doctor have a set price? Obviously not. If he did in Katzitz, if he had a set price, your Katzitz, if he doesn't have a set price, your husband has to give it to you. Says more, how can Rabbi Yochanan have told her this? But we had this more back in Zuvas. Today we learn Al Tasa never make yourself like an orech din. What's an orech din? A lawyer, right? Never make yourself like lawyers. And he was teaching her how to wheedle out the money, whatever she needs, and that's like being a lawyer, teaching people what to do. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Chagai, Levi said, this is an answer. Rabbi Chagai, Levi said, also Gasl Yochid Dino. No, it's all part of the question. So, we learned what does it mean? Also, you can't tell an individual what to do in order to marry. In the court case, so how could he tell her what's in order to marry here? So he said, Yoda Rabbi Yochanan knew to eat sakshera. That's right, exactly. Okay? So Rabbi Yochanan says, how could Rabbi Yochanan said it to her what to do? So he said, she knew the Yisak Shera, begin Cain Galilei, and she knew that she's not going to play any monkey business, so therefore he told her what the Eitzah is, and assuming that she only use it if it's honest, right? Which is that if there indeed is no set treatment for medicine, there is no set treatment for medicine, then if she finds out that is truly the case, only then will she demand it for her husband, and he relied on her to do the right thing. It says more Bala boy, hey in the cots. One second. Well, actually, according to the who is it? Because Bnei Moshe says it's a continuation, but I think it says, I think what it means is like it's not a continuation, it's a different answer. Why could he tell her this about using medicine shelo kitzvah? Because Bala boy in the cuts, Rasman obviously wants it to be a set course of treatment, because that way he doesn't have to pay her out of pocket to come out of her ksuva, right? He boy ain't look, she wants it not to be a set course of treatment, because then she'll have mizonos and ksuva. A man shamin lolabala. So who do we listen to? Though we listen to her husband. So therefore, Rabbi Yochanan was giving her purely hypothetical advice, right? There was no way we're going to listen to her, that she should get the money, her husband will say, all right, prove to me that it is not a set course of treatment. I remember Tanya said, so you know what? The truth is that does not mean you can't tell people what's going to make them meritorious. Rather, it means you can't listen to one client without the other client being present. You can't listen to one litigant without the litigant being present. It says, and the Prince so changes to Baldine, you may. It's if your co-litigant doesn't come with you to court, then you can't discuss. The co-litigant does not come to court, the defendant or the plaintiff. You can't discuss with the fellow who came to court what strategy should be. That's don't make it sound like Korche Deonim. However, Brambudis Dinim Remake, in the case where his co-litigant, Baldin, is with him, Amarle Milsa, in that case you can even give an eitzah to one of them, as long as the other one knows what kind of eitzahs you're giving him. So the Arche Dayanim is specifically to hear one guy before the other guy, but more than that you are potentially allowed to do. So we have three reasons why Rabbi Yochanan was allowed to say to her in this case, check out if it has a set amount or not. One reason because she's Nishik Sherin, she's not going to lie. The other reason is that her husband has the upper hand, and therefore he's going to find out first, and he'll enforce whatever he sees to be the case. And the final answer was that the only time you can't be lawyers is when you don't have both plaintiff and defendant in front of you. But when both plaintiff and defendant are in front of you, then you can give eitzahs to either side of the affair. Okay? Aloche, Masnisin, Hashlech Sivlonus Beis Chavi, somebody who sends pre-marriage gifts to his father-in-law's household. And of course, this is also a very highly ritualized procedure in the old days, where people used to give gifts to their future in-laws. That was a mistake. If he, I like my in-laws, that was not for the record. If the chassan said there $100, right? And then he went to eat a meal in his in-law's house, even if he wasn't actually married. He just ate a meal, so he loses all the money which he gave. So that's why it's not a good idea to give the siblonos ahead of time.
Why does he lose?
Because the siblonos are given on not on the assumption that he's going to marry the girl, but rather than the assumption he'll accept it into his father-in-law's house. And lo and behold, when he ate there, he was accepted to his father-in-law's house. So he doesn't get it back. He paid for that privilege. It's the $500 a plate dinner. That's the principle which is involved. Okay? So that's what it says here. She'esha me'amona, here it's $1,000. Yeah, but before the Nisuin. Yeah. Right. Right. Pre-marital gifts. Pre-chuppah gifts. Pre-chuppah.
Well, what was he expecting to get out of this $100? Just told us
goodwill. Yeah.
So
fat dowry. Fat dowry, not fat girl. Fat dowry.
He thought maybe they would put the $100 into the dowry.
Probably not, but he thought eventually they'd be reciprocated. Okay. So if he had a chasus, people be because his father-in-law bought him a falafel. He can't collect back the zilonus. If he never got to eat in his father's house and then the marriage was called off, he gave a divorce, then he gets the ziblonus back. Now here actually this is your case. He sent a large amount of zilonus in order that someone should come back, right, as her dowry. Array elu nigbin. These are collected. Now, what does it mean? These are collected. That you can collect it back, right? If he sent her small packages, only for her to use while she's in her father's house, and he can't collect them back. Okay, again, the collecting back is only assuming that he never ate their meal. Okay? Charban asher shlech larusas sivlonos mumus. An individual sent to his fiancée large sivlonos. Armelin Kripo, his relative, said, "You idiot, lo titom tamon klum. Now you've done that for sure. Whenever you go to visit there, don't taste the thing. Why not taste the thing? Because you taste the thing, you lose the sivlonos. Azavalo shamaloi. Ay. He went and didn't listen. The chol. And he ate. V'nava beisa, the house fell on him. First, it was a right? The zakun, the Vukula, his wife's family, who arranged for the house to fall on him, they got all the sivlonos because he ate them once, and therefore they got to keep it. Okay. Chamin individual shilech he sent his betrothed Asim Varva Karios, 24 carriages and mine cheres, various different types of lettuce. Maybe it says between Shavuos and Pesach and Shavuos, which I assume is not the lettuce season. V'lois kasher abon didn't have difficulty where he got so many types of lettuce. That's possible. El minon aisei zer dekiton the zaysin. Question is from where he found flax and olive seeds, which are obviously very expensive at that time of year. Don't ask me why, I have no clue. Rabbi Pareda Ukil Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Rabbi Pareda gave honor to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi by giving trained pugli, giving him 2 turnips, Ben Reishat Tzoma between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Fava Pakish Mitzvahs right the Shemitah's over, so he couldn't have grown mostly during Shemitah because then it'd be also. Right? So therefore it's after Shemitah. Vav Isbutul and Gam, each one could be borne by a camel so large. Amalei Rebbe said, he did not see it, he should be forbidden. Then they go wild during Shemitah until it goes wild during Shemitah. It's forbidden. Stuff which is normally cultivated. Amalei said, no. The Paki Shemitah is daring. I planted them at Bepaki means at the outset of Shemitah. So it's not a problem. But so Rebbe, at that moment, Rebbe saw how quickly things grow after during when Klal Yisrael is in the right situation. So then he allowed people to take to buy fruit and vegetables immediately after Shemitah's over, not being kosher that perhaps are from Shemitah produce. Why is that? Because we see things grow so fast in Eretz Yisrael, so it's quite likely that even after Shemitah's over, stuff grew overnight, and that's what you're actually purchasing, not something which was used for Shemitah. Okay, Halacha Vav. Shchimra shekasav kol nechasav lacher. Shchimra wrote all of his private to other people. Shir karka kosher. If he left some land for himself, that means that obviously he was of sound and lucid mind. So then, manaso kayemes. Whatever gift he gives is sustained. But shir karka kosher. If he didn't leave any land, manaso kayemes. Then the gift is not a valid gift. Meaning that if he does not succumb to the disease, he rises from a sickbed, he gets everything back that he gave. Lokas about Shchimera. If he didn't write Shchimera in the document for Mesh Shchimera, he says, I was a Shchimera. But Henry and Braya, they say, Bologna, you weren't a Shchimera, now you're a Shchimera. But then you weren't a Shchimera. Tzarech lo viraya. Shchimera Hoya. Yes, bring right that he was Shchimera Divrei Meir. Chachamim say Motzah Chavero O Love Haraya. They want to prove him guilty. They have to produce the evidence. Okay. Says Gemara. Rabbi Yerushalmi Rav said, Shema Talton Losa Klum. When is it considered to be a gift which is binding? Only if you left land. In that case, we say, even if you became healed again, we say, when you gave the gift, you meant to give it permanently. Why? Because otherwise you wouldn't have retained something to yourself. By retain something else means that at least it was a reasonable chashash you expected to survive. So therefore, there's no demand of shchimera. By the way, there's a little bit of a catch-22 here, which one of the Fortune discusses. I forget who, which is how do you get to a case where they have joint here's the question. I remember. I think it's. I don't remember what it's about to ask. Forget it. Yerushalmi Rab said Shimatal Lo Soklu. On the Echla most loka karka kamisha shilo karka. But if, however, the estate, the father left you money, and with that money you bought land, kamisha yesh lo karka. It's as if you were left land. In other words, no, it's a bad translation. Somebody who was left, somebody who was too hard. Can't stay awake. I might have to take a coffee break too. Rabbi Yerushalmi Rav said, "Shema Tafla." That's good. Sorry, guys. Shema Tafla Lo So Klu. If you left over metalflin, then it's a meaningless gesture, because the reason why when you leave over, the gift is sustained even though you're a shchimera, is because we know that you're planning ahead. Because otherwise, why would you leave stuff over? If you're planning ahead, this is not a gift given necessarily solely on the account of death. It's not given solely on the account of death, so even if you survive, it's a valid gift. But if all you left was metalflin and not real estate, that's not planning ahead. In the old days, metalflin was considered to be so unreliable that that's not planning ahead. That doesn't indicate that you were intended to give the gift whether you survived or not. So if you left over land for yourself, that indicates you intended the gift to be valid whether you survived or not. Okay? So Yerushalmi Rab said, "Shir metalflin lo so klum, eleniach lo mos." However, if you left for yourself money, which theoretically should be metalflin, and laka karka, and you bought real estate, in other words, you gave away all your real estate, but left money to buy more real estate, then kimisha shir karka, if you left land itself, and therefore, in that case, it's considered to be retention, and the gift is sustained even if you rise from your deathbed. The dog the tamer lo share karka koshu emanasum adon. And they say also that if you didn't leave yourself land, your gift is not a gift. Boso, it should be boso shehivri. It's when you got better again, of course, right? Avo im again, it should be lo hivri. That's according to make that correction. If you never got better, even if you left yourself some land, so you died. So the Rabbi Yochanan, it's what we kick in Rabbi Yochanan, name Rabbi Yochannan's classic statement. Also, they made the words, the verbal statement of a shchimera, kibari, like a healthy man, shekasav anasan, who wrote down the matter and delivered the matter. So therefore, Lamaisa, when you die with having retained some land, then we certainly say it's a mamash shchimera. It's only if you survive having retained some land that we say also is a mamash bori. Okay, I don't know if that was clear, but when you die, no matter how you gave the gift, it's a mamash shchimera. Mamash shchimera meaning that even though you didn't write it down, you didn't make a kinyan, it's a valid transaction, right?
Died, so is it?
When he survived, though, it's dichotomy whether he gave everything or away, in which case a grenade, or he only gave part away, he kept something for himself. Okay? So says Umara, a person who's in danger of dying. Did I skip? I did. I skipped one line. No, I did. I skipped. What? No, I didn't. If he never got better, also and they made a shchimera who wrote and gave over I'm sorry. I was Shrimera Kibari Chikosanos, and made a Shrimera like a well person who wrote and gave over. For who Shemeis Milzachole. Those words I didn't read it for. This guy died of that disease. In other words, if he was dying of cancer, then ended up dying of a stroke instead, then it doesn't work that way. Okay? It's got to be that he died from that disease. Says Mar Mesuka Jilin Chosabem Bchobim.
Holy, I would imagine it's got to be unrelated to this, because one sometimes the disease spawns and
Yeah, no, I had that time. Yeah, I would say it's probably the case. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's the case. A person who's in danger of dying, who distributed his property both whether on weekday, whether on Shabbos. Masha also whatever he did is valid. However, if he's well, because of Shtar Chazak, he's got to write it down and get to produce a transaction worthy of name, with money, with a document, with Chazaka. It said, kind of off on a tangent, not just kind of. Nidma b'safek bika, you became tummy in an area which was a suffix, whether it's a bika or not. You know what a bika is? A bika is a field. And a field is considered in the summer to be Rishus Arabi because people walk there. In the winter it's to be Rishus Yachin because people don't walk there because stuff is growing. And therefore in the field it's Rishus Arabim and Safek to Rishus Arabim is Safek Torah. In the winter it's Safek to Rishus Yachin, Safek to Rishus Yachin is Feiko Tami. We don't know what kind of field this is. Safek Bikon. We don't know how it's classified. So, what its status is in the summer or in the winter, it's a machlokas and it's a machlokas in Pachir Me'achamim. Now, Bali Shoel, if you came to, this is according to our mayor, Bali Shoel, you came to ask about it during the summer. Then Yisholim Masacham respond about the summertime, which means we're looking at it as a what? Sarabim and your Torah, right? Mosa Ksharm and Yisholim Mosa Ksharm. If you came to us during the winter, we look at it as the winter, and you are Tomei. Rabbi Yochanan said it's not always that way. By the way, it's going to remain only. But only a smooth storm. It's a day which is adjacent to the rain, which may well be of one type or the other. Says the more Rabbi Ani B'Shem Rab probably. Then Rab said, "Hashtorah yara shtoros ala latachtoina." Whoever's holding out the document has a lower hand. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Lo masnisa is in our Mishnah. Kasla shchimera, v'omer shchimera. If he wrote as a shchimera, and he said he was a shchimera, I forgot what this is. Oh, you're right. Lokas shchimera, v'omer shchimera. He didn't write this. It wasn't written as a document of shchimera, but he said it was a shchimera. So in that case, who has to prove it? Lokas of shchimera, the second to last line in the narrow lines of Mishnah. Lokas of shchimera, v'omer shchimera. You see, v'enemin borea yar. He says I'm a shchimera, and they say he was well. So we said he has to bring a proof that it's shchimirot. No, they have to prove that he was a what does he claim he is? He says I'm a shchimirot, so he can renege, and they say he wasn't shchimirot, so he can't renege, right? He says he was shchimirot, so he can renege on the deal. They say he wasn't the shchimera, so he can't renege on the deal, right? So now, we say about this, Rabbi Avishai Rav said, Yara shtoros l'tachtoinu. Whatever's only a document has the lower hand. Says Maram Rabbi Yochanan L'Amasis says, now Mishnah lo kos lo shchimera v'omer shchimera. If he didn't write shchimera for shchimera, and he says that he was a shchimera, we said there, Hamotzi Michaber Lavaraya. they have to prove. Yeah, they have to prove that he was a shrimira. So Yad Baal Shtar Tachtona, they have the document saying that it was being given to them or sold to them, but they have to prove that it is a shrimira in order for it to be a valid transaction. So the guy is only on the document here, Yad Baal Shtar Tachtona, he has what he has to prove. And since he has to prove, so therefore they have to prove evidence he actually was a shrimira. Right?
If he has a document, why is it?
That he was, I'm sorry, they're not doing shrimira, my mistake. They said that he was well healthy and should stand. No, they have the document. They want to say that he was healthy.
The document says that he was a shrimmer. He wrote it. Did he write? How did he write the document?
No, it doesn't say it was shrimira.
Oh, it's just a generic document.
Right.
So,
But the burden of proof is upon them, the possessors of the document, to prove that the document is a valid document.
So we believe the sick man that says that
Right.
he was a shrimmer.
Even though the star is in the other guy's hands.
Star didn't say anything about it.
No, star didn't say anything about shrimira. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a highly important point in a few lines. Okay? So we see from our Mishnah that we don't believe the guys are in the star. So it's our Mishnah really. So Vav Rabbi Yanai Mekadas Liver, it's clear in several places in Shas. Normally, where Shlokish gets grumpy, the Rabbi Yanai is praising Rabbi Yochanan, but not here. Vav Rabbi Yanai Mekadas, they said, Rabbi Yochanan, such a gewaltige Talmid Chochem. It was obviously a Talmud at that point. Hazolim Zon Mikitz, the money flows from his pockets. B'niyah Yolizu Miyah, Yolizu Meinecho, let the turn not depart from your eyes, etc. V'goyim, etc. Chatol Izam Nechosi. So the certain individual, young man, bought property. Asa Uvdo Kukun Rabbi Yechia Bar Yosef, and he sold property. And there was a document, of course, written about this. Now, this is before the other heirs of some of his estates split it up. So, this case came from Rabbi Yochanan. They were aiding him on this document. The child who sold it was actually an adult at the time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have signed the document, right? And therefore the property is is properly sold. Rabbi Yochanan, no. Became a shkibel of lak or nechasim mishpacha, since he had the temerity or the brazenness to get rid of family property. So even though there's a document, he has got to bring a proof that he was of age to make that sale. So the Gemara asks the question. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, the other starts lo yoina. Does Rabbi Yochanan say that since wherever there's a document, the possessor document, in this case the buyer, has a superior hand, didn't Rabbi Yochanan himself say at the top of the page that he found our mission, the Baal Shtar is al Tachtoina. The Baal Shtar, the guy that's on the star, has to prove the veracity of the information contained within the star. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yasa, boy, come Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, what's the next word? Ma Rebbe, the Rebbe Yomer, Yabal Shtar Tachtona. Rabbi Yasa asked Rabbi Yochanan, what does our master hold? The Rebbe is honorific. The Rebbe who was a student of Rebbe, say about Yabal Shtar Tachtona. What do you have to do to say that? He said, Divrei Hakol Yad Shtoros Al Yoina. He said everybody agrees that that Yabal Shtar is Al Yoina, that he has the superior position. The guy is only on the star. Says how do you say? If there's a document, we stumble, we assume the document is signed by a child who was of age already, right? V'atamad v'kim shkivu of lachor nechasim mishpacha olav laviraya. Yet there's another perspective, which is Rabbi Yochanan's Rabbi Yochanan's own perspective, which is that since he's coming to take apart the dismantle the estate by selling off the property, so you said mishpacha the property from the family to another family. Even though he's the Baal Ashtar, he's got to bring proof that it's a legitimate transaction. We see Yab Ashtar Tachtona. So it's a contradiction to Rabbi Yochanan. When we see Yab Ashtar Tachtona, when they say Yab Ashtar Eliana. Somebody says, I didn't say this thing which is attributed to me. They attributed to me that I said that we stumbled, it's done by Ben Das, which means Yad Baal Ashtar Eliana. But Hagwash! I never said anything of the sort. Okay? It's an amazing concept. I don't know if we actually have Amoraim usually dismissing or disowning things which are attributed to them, but that's what happened. He said, I hold the Abba Shtar Tachtoina. The Shtar is doing me any good. If it does, it's in another context. Okay? The Abba Shtar Tachtoina means that the guy who has the Shtar has to bring further documentation or prove the reliability of the Shtar. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Zer, Rabbi Yasser, Rabbi Zer said for Rabbi Yasser, Afilu boy Rabbi Yochanan Michbar. If Rabbi Yochanan wants to deny what he previously held, strong language here is too. Rabbi Yochanan is trying to weasel out of it. Locate Amar didn't Rabbi Yana Shemilama Shem Rav said Yabal Shtar Tachtoina. Wait a second, I make a mistake. What did he say for? No, I made a mistake. Oh, I got it backwards. Sorry. Rabbi Yochanan it's Yabal Shtar Yoina. And then they asked him, well, what about the little boy who sold where you said that the guy who has the document has got to prove the document is valid, that Yabal Shtar, which seems to be Yabal Shtar Tachtoina. My mistake. Rabbi Yochanan says Yabal Shtar Yoina. Alright, what about the case which seems to indicate Yabal Shtar Tachtoina? We said, Rabbi Yochanan said, I disowned that case. I deny I ever said that. I never said such a thing. I always held the Yabal Shtar Yoina. And that, of course, says, even if Rabbi Yochanan himself wants to deny, what's it going to do with Rabbi Yana? Rabbi Yana said, Yad Bar Shtar Aloha Tachtona. Right? So even though he himself denies it, what's it going to do with Rabbi Yana's statement? I remember Rabbi Yana on the top page, praise Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said on Mishnah, the guys who got to give, they got to bring a proof that the guy was well, because Yabal Shtar Tachtoina. So we've got Rabbi Yochanan cornered. He's trying to weasel out of it, but he cannot. Right? Says Marmalay Rabbi Yochanan said, Vlad Mastisi. Yochanan said, look, you could ask me the same question for the Mishnah, not for Rabbi Yanai, right? El Chachamim Sheikh Rebbe, yes, but it's a machlokas. And it's Chachamim who all like Rebbe, old Yabal Shtar al Yoina. But, old Yabal Shtar al ha-tachtoina. I hold Yabal Shtar al Yoina. Let's talk about machlokas tonight. I participate in this machlokas. Says Rabbi Yochanan, again, Amalei Rabbi Yochanan Vlad Masisi El Chachamim Sheikh Rebbe. Rabbi Yerushalmi Rav said Aloha Kramer.
It was always Thursday nights. It's a remarkable thing. You're more awake tonight. Usually on Thursday night. Yeah, but so Rabbi Yochanan said Vlad Masisi El Chachamim Sheikh Rebbe. Rabbi Yerushalmi Aloha Kramer. Was I made that the guys have to prove that he was a shchimer, that he was a boy when he gave the gift. The Mishnah should be the opposite of the way it's written. Shchitas chomim in our Mishnah should be the opposite of what it says about them in our Mishnah. So in our Mishnah said that they have to bring the proof. Really, they show that he has to bring the proof. Okay. Now, what is the word can change here. Mal Raya is a new issue. What's the proof that you have to bring? Mamas Himastisa. Our Mishnah says you have to bring proof. Chavraya Ravaya, the older Chaver said Amur Eidim, you have to bring witnesses. Once you have witnesses prove whether he was well or sick when he when he gave the commands. Whereas Chavraya Raya Amre, the younger crowd of the basement said Ein Eidim Klum. Ain't Eidim, it should be Ain't Eidim, their money. The wouldn't have money, it's not there. Israel changes it, puts it in as well. There are Eidim are not believed. Says, well, what? Klum Plige, El Al Eidim, do we ever argue on anything other than the basis of Eidim? In other words, Eidim are everything. I can say Eidim are no proof. Rabbi Achun, so Rabbi Achun said, he says, you know what the guy says? He says, look, I told you, how can I believe you? You're the Eidim will say, I wrote it you wrote when I was buried. But that's exactly the point, whether you're valid witnesses or not. I claim that you're liars. That I told you to write, I was shkimah, and you didn't write it. So therefore, even though Eidim are normally reliable, that's true where the Eidim are not the question under discussion. But here, since the Eidim are a question under discussion, so therefore the Chavraya Ziraya, the younger set of rabbis in the base of Medrash, they held that Eidim are not valid proof in this case. So Gevaldik Chab. In other words, the distinction of the Chavraya, the old rabbis, they thought Eidim are everything, but the young rabbis, they saw Eidim are not necessarily everything, depending on when they're the topic of discussion or not. Yes.
But he's no Gabriel, therefore, so
are the witnesses. Well, they want to sustain what they said. If they slipped up this...
They were just witnesses.
Yeah, but they don't want people to think that they're non-trustworthy people. So they have a vested interest as well.
So that could be continued throughout all of Sanhedrin.
It could. And Echanami, if the Eidim are going to be in a compromising position, then in Echanami they might lose their status as the ultimate proof, as what they normally have in Judaism. Okay, so the bottom line is that the Rabbi Yochanan normally holds Yad Ba'al Shtar Tachtoina, even though we find Chachamim who argue. But nevertheless, Derech Klal Yad Ba'al Shtar Tachtoina, he's got to bring evidence as to the full and complete veracity of his documents. Once he has that evidence, of course, Eidim Shtar is almost the same like Eidim, but you have to conquer that initial hurdle of overcoming any potential ambiguity and question about the document.
Theoretically, could the Shtar be written without Eidim?
No, I mean, it could, but then it would. Who's going? Somebody has to stain it. Yeah, it's just a piece of paper. It's not a Shtar.
So the Eidim, the Eidim are around the people, the person that has the Shtar. The Eidim are around, or they just have the signature of the Eidim on the Shtar?
It sounds like the Eidim are around. And even though then the guy who says it was Shchimera contends that they're, they'd be dismissed.
It disturbs me because, I mean, in a murder case, the Eidim say Reuben killed Shimon. Reuben could say, I don't believe you're liars.
You can't say that there. You can't say, I told you to record the fact that I'm not going to murder him. That's question Metzias, right? Here it's specifically a question of carrying out orders which were not Metzias orders. That's why it's an issue. If someone is distributing his property as he's dying, whether he's well or whether he's dangerous, the chasim sheish lamachrayis property where real estate niklim keser shtar chazak, you must have keser shtar chazak in order to buy it. You know keser shtar chazak, in other words, he doesn't know about the shchimira. He also knows such thing basically. If it's real estate, it needs money, shtar and chazaka. If it's not real estate, any niklim shich, you have to pull it. They said, how can you say this? We know that there's always man the shchimira. They said, it's the case with the mother of the children of Rachel. I don't know if her name was Rachel or her husband's. But she was sick. She said, Tinasa, Kivinti Leviti, let my hat go to my daughter. The hat which is worth $12 or $1,200. The Chum sustained her statement even though she didn't write it down and didn't make a kinyan. So you see, man, the Shchimera works. They said, B'nai Roichel, they're all evildoers. Tik Brenim and let their mother bury them. She actually was dying, but let her bury them. So they meant, so he said that's no proof. And we're just going to expound that a little bit. I says, I could do it. Now, this is really not relevant to our Sugi, it's relevant to Sugi Kiddushin about Kinyan Agav. But it's brought in here, that's Agav. Erech Agav, it's brought down here. I could do Mashiach Kakos without Mokum Echad. If the land and the objects be brought together with the land in one place, that's it's called Svurin in the Bavli, the objects on top of the land, that it works. What I heard about how Kakos Mokum Echad, the land was one way place, and the Metalli were another place. Rabun said, so that from here. Rabbi Lezer said to them, to the Chachamim, that Rabbi Lezer one holds there's no such thing as Matna Shchimera. Maisa b'mechayne, he says a Maisa, we have this back in the Yerushalmi Summer, Kiddushin Peah. Maisa with a guy from Meron. A lot of money, a lot of objects, and he was dying. He wanted to distribute them. They said, I don't know if he actually was dying. And wanted to distribute it. So Amalur said, the only way to do this is by buying land and doing Kinyan Agav. So what he do? He went and bought a certain stone adjacent to Yerushalayim. He said, the north side of the stone, and he does to give it so-and-so, he had something to go with 100 sheep, and 100 barrels of wine. The south side, and there's to give the so-and-so, and 100 barrels of oil. This Maisa came from Yerushalmi. The Kimus for you're not going to daven here. Okay, the Kimus for and they sustained what he did as a bowed sale. So here you see that Kinyan Agav does not require that the property be that the objects be sitting atop the property. Why? Because he just bought a stone. He didn't put 100 sheep on the stone, right? Rechina said for Shchimera, anyway, he was a Shchimera. But it has nothing to do with Kinyan Agav, not Kinyan Agav. He was dying, Taka. I forgot, it is here explicitly. He was a Shchimera. What's the proof? Person only can make Kinyan by writing something down. The car, and here, he was even Ba'apeh. Something which we didn't address, that's what I wanted to say before, and I forgot what I was going to say. It's not so pleasant. How you can make a mistake between Matna Shchimera and a Matna Zbori. It's a very difficult mistake to make, because Matna Shchimera, you don't write any Lashon of Kinyan, you don't give over star. The moment you wrote a Lashon of Kinyan, you gave over star, it becomes a Matna Zbori. So we had cases back here, we had a dispute, what did he mean Bori and mean Shchimera? It's not so posh to conceive of such a case. It's being very artfully designed to be very ambiguous, that a document is written in a way that at the same time it might serve as a Matna Zbori, yet at the same time might serve as a Matna Shchimera. It might be considered to be quote-unquote Ba'apeh, it might be considered as a document B'ksav. So obviously there is ambiguity which can be built in, which would make it a question as to whether it's a Matna Shchimera or Matna Zbori. But most times, 9 times out of 10, it'll be clear when, 99 times out of 100, whether the gift was meant to be the gift of a well individual, or it was meant to be the gift of a dying individual. Well, for as well.
Can't you say, I have a sound mind, but there's a very sick body?
You can say that, but it doesn't say it in the documents. The question is what the document says, okay? That's what he should know. He probably did say it. That's what I said before to the aim. You guys are liars, because I said I'm a sick person, right? Okay, so that's why it's an ambiguous document. So again, here it's beginning about here it's clear Shchimeras was of the Kinyan Agav. And also he said, always Kinyan Agav requires the land and the object in the same place. The Kohen here, I feel karkos mokamechel, matali mokamacher. So Rabbi Chia clearly holds Kinyan Agav has to be everything atop the other thing. Armalazer said, "V'lo Rabbi Lezer, how can you say to him on the shchimira? It's going right on Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer doesn't hold him on the shchimira. So I said, Rabbi Lezer doesn't on the shchimira. I must hold it works because of Kinyan Agav, and he must hold Kinyan Agav works even if the objects are not literally atop the land." Says Mara. Now, somebody was not aware of this. Somebody asked Rabbi Chani asked Rabbi Mara, "Shani shchimira the Rabbi Lezer kibbutz Rabbanim? Shchimira." Rabbi Lezer is like the well person of the rabbis. Is that true? Amalei said, "Yes." Shchimira the Rabbi Lezer kibbutz Rabbanim. That's not true. Tam tivul over there. Rabbi Kimar kaka koshu. Now this is trying to bring another proof. The Kinyan Agav doesn't require tzvur b'socha because there's any small parts of land will do. Rabbi Matanya said, no proof. Could be even, yes, a sliver of land the size of a kernel of grain, but it could be there's a pearl in it. So the Kinyan Agav could have to do with the pearl, not with anything off the land. Okay, what was wrong with Bnei Roichel? Why was he upset in the Mishnah? He said that Bnei Roichel their mother should bury them. Rabbi Yisrael Beri Bun, Elohei Arotza Kali was looking for an excuse to curse them. Vishem Zorin Kurkumim because they used to plant saffron in their vineyards and grow kilayim. So therefore he was utterly upset and disgusted with them. Okay, nothing to do with Shchimir or not Shchimir. Chormi says b'Shabbos Shchimir can make an oral transaction on Shabbos. They shouldn't yochel because it can't write. Avol lo b'chol, but not on a weekday. Why? Because let him write it down. They didn't give the latitude amount of shchim on a weekday. Shomer b'Shabbos amru. On Shabbos they said he can make a kinyan through Manda Shchimira. Kal b'chol b'chol certainly on a weekday you can do it. But you can make a kinyan on Shabbos, you can certainly make a kinyan on a weekday. Kids was similarly zoy l'kodem ain't zoy l'godol. The Tanakh holds Manda Shchimira only works for a minor, not for an adult. Shomer a kataram, but they said it works for a minor. Kal b'chol b'chol certainly works for an adult. Those who learn, they switch around the shittas. Who held what in our Mishnah? Chacham and Rabbi Yeshua. The Shimon Markim says, well, they made a Mishnah and we'll learn our Mishnah. Im Shabbos, someone works on Shabbos, Kavachomer Bechol. It certainly works on a weekday. That if the Shabbos didn't say Ma'aner Shchimira, certainly works on a weekday as well. Basically, the way we translate. He said also the same about Kon Gadol that those who changed who owns what. He said that the Mishnah in the Katan Amru that it works. Kavachon Gadol certainly works by adult as well. Okay, halacha test. Let's just finish the paragraph. The house fell on him and on his father. Or a person and our people who are going to bequeath him of some other sort. He owed money. And he had debtors, and his father had debtors, right? Yershav, or heirs, I should say. Yershav, the heirs of the father say, Omri, my ben mates Rishon. The son died first, so the father inherited, and it goes to us. Chaga mates off, and then the father died only afterwards, so we get it because the father got it second. Nobody knows exactly what happened, they're just claiming this. The debtors of the son, they say, our mates Rishon, the father died first, Chaim mates ben, and then the son dies, and therefore we should get the assets. Beishamri says we can't do okay first yachloku. We divide it up 50-50. So even the chazak whatever the father possessed before the roof fell, that's the father's estate. When the son possessed before the roof fell, that's the brother's estate. With the son's estate, we don't divide it up equally. Similarly, the house fell on him and his wife. Yershav, the heirs of the husband say, Isha mates Rishon. First she died, and then the husband died, so everything went to the husband, and therefore goes all to us. And the heirs of the wife say, Haba meis Rishon, the husband died first, and then the wife died. Beishamai says, the divide up, because the girl no died first. Whoever retained ownership before has ownership now. And therefore, the ksuva, which the husband is holding on to because he hadn't paid it, he goes to his heirs. The dowry, which she brought in and she used, because that goes to her father and or his heirs. The house falls on him and his mother, and they're both after there's no father anymore. In that case, but Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that you divide it up 50-50, because in this case, since they're both coming to an end, since really he's coming to inherit his mother and he is the sole heir, so basically there are no distinctions into who's going to inherit, whether the mother comes first or the son comes first, and there are distinctions. I'm not sure. I tried to figure out why Beis Hillel doesn't argue here. I really couldn't figure out Beis Hillel's main motion. For some reason, Beis Hillel doesn't argue in this case, and I can't figure out exactly why. Kiva said also in this case, I argue in this case. Beis Hillel's not going to argue, I'm not going to argue. So in any event, I can figure out exactly why Beis Hillel didn't argue, but Rabbi Kiva argues. Ben Azai got upset, Rabbi Kiva says, we're upset that the Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai argued in the first cases. So in this case, they finally agreed. In this case, where they finally agreed, you want to make a machlokas? What kind of, it's unnecessary, keep it the way it was. So I'm Rabbi Shmuel Bar Rabbi Yitzchak. The reason why I didn't work so hard to figure out this Mishnah is because the Gemara doesn't address it at all. Oh, it says historical note. Well, how could Ben Azai critique Rabbi Akiva? I was much younger than Akiva. So Samarish Ben Azai Talmud Chaver, the Talmud Rabbi Akiva. He was a Chaver and a Talmud. When the Bible is called Talmud Chaver. The Mishnah is Talmud, then he became a Chaver, and then he could critique Rabbi Akiva.